Free speech is ingrained into the origins of our nation. It was the first right legally protected by the Bill of Rights. It was the catalyst for change in the vocal civil rights movements. It was used to hold the government accountable against wartime atrocities. Today, this liberty continues to be a powerful tool for people of all walks of life to fight for what they believe in.
And student-led protests can be found all around the country. As a result, in recent years, many questions have been raised surrounding the political rights of students. At what point should a student's freedom of speech be limited? What are students' free speech rights and responsibilities on and off campus? Protests have been an integral piece of student free speech since the landmark Supreme Court case Tinker v. Des Moines Independent Community School District. At the height of the Vietnam War, students in Des Moines decided that they would participate in anti-war protests by wearing black armbands. The school responded by suspending all protesting students, an action that was challenged in the courts. The final decision, which was held by a 7-2 majority, was that students did not lose their First Amendment rights on school property unless the protest in question was proved to substantially interfere with learning. This decision established the very foundations for free speech within schools. From then on, the prevalence of school protests have only increased. Today, many students find their voice through protesting.
To discuss the intersection between journalism and student rights, we reached out to Mary Rechner, advisor of Lincoln High School's Cardinal Times, the oldest student publication west of the Mississippi.
Hazelwood v. Kohlmeyer was a case from 1988, and it basically brought student press rights backwards from the Tinker Standard that started in 1969. And the Tinker Standard basically gave students more free press rights, more freedom of expression rights, the way that adults have freedom of expression rights.
Hazelwood v. Kohlmeyer was a landmark case for student journalism. It started when students in Hazelwood East High School's student-led newspaper tried to publish articles on divorce and teen pregnancy. However, the principals found these articles inappropriate for the school newspaper, deleting them from the publication. Hazelwood students, including Kathy Kohlmeyer, brought this issue to court. In a 5-3 decision, the court decided these articles did not violate student free speech rights. The First Amendment didn't require schools to promote certain types of student speech, holding that schools had the right to refuse to sponsor speech inconsistent with the shared values of civilized social order. Hazelwood v. Kohlmeyer's ruling ultimately supported the right of the school to sponsor or not sponsor student speech. But what about student speech outside of school grounds?
Speech has looked the same for ages, but in the last century, technology has allowed speech to take many forms, the latest being social media. Social media has been used most by our youth. We reached out to lawyer and Constitution team advisor Alison Brody to understand more about how social media interacts with constitutional rights.
So the Supreme Court actually hasn't said that much about social media. There was a case involving online threats, an adult making online threats called Alonis v. United States. And there was a case where North Carolina said that people who had been convicted sex offenders couldn't have access to social media. So those are the only two Supreme Court cases, other than the recent BH case that had to do with the student online speech, that the Supreme Court has even looked at.
The BH case that Ms. Brody is referring to is a case in which a high school student posted a video of her ranting about her public school's cheerleading team using profanity. Her school punished her for the video, and the student brought the matter to the court, claiming the school violated her First Amendment rights. The Supreme Court agreed with her in an 8-1 decision. Ms. Brody then answers the question, what is the line between when a school can or cannot limit speech?
If you're upsetting the learning experience during the school day, that the school can punish you. What they can do when you're off campus is a much more open question that I think it's going to take decades for the courts to really decide where the line is.
As technology develops, the limits of speech will undoubtedly change in the years to come. The most impacted will be the next generation. Though we don't know what the future holds, what we do know is that students will always advocate for what they believe in.